Last night, one of the few game releases that I was looking forward to in 2023 finally came out, being the game of Redfall. This post-vampire apocalypse simulation is the latest game developed by Arcane Studios and was highly anticipated for a long time due to the fact that it's the first Bethesda published game since they were bought out by Xbox. Which is major because you think after the hundreds of studios that the company has bought, they would have way more exclusive games, but I guess that budget's going to buying Activision. This single player and co-op title has been teased for the past year or so as a simple game where you kill vampires and explore the city of Redfall in an attempt to find opportunities to take back control of the land. Now, of course, I went into the game with an open mind like always, and with the intention of giving it a should you buy review like how I always give the new releases. Thing is though, that was my initial intention, right? But last night, I refunded this shit. Hold on. Just wait a second. Let me explain, let me put my thoughts into the airspace. I just want to preface the rest of this video by saying that the game is not completely bad, right? Like, if that was the case, I would have just said that the game was ass, that's easy for me. But the experience that I had last night was not enough for me to even come on here and possibly entertain the idea that what I paid for the game, which was 75 big ones, is what the game is worth, at least in my opinion. Now, the game is available on the Xbox Game Pass, which I could have played it for much cheaper, but I don't use that service, and I like to own all of my games in case any studio just decides to usurp one of these games from the platform. So with that being said, I just want to get straight into it and give y'all my experience playing the game last night and my complete opinion, which can hopefully aid your decision in buying the game of Redfall if you don't have the Game Pass. So let's just dive straight into the gameplay since the whole story has pretty much been summed up in the 2 sentences that I talked about. So when you first load into the game, you get to choose one of the 4 available characters, each with their own dialogue and distinct special abilities. Now we already got a deep dive into these characters, through past trailers and gameplay footage, so I'm not going to go through, explaining all of them one by one, but for my playthrough, I chose 𝘕𝘓 because I like her telekinetic abilities the most, and I like her bio, which says telekinetic threat and student depth, which is literally the position of almost every person my age minus the superpowers. And after that, I got thrown straight into the world of Redfall, where I had to kill the cultists in my way so that I could reach a safe house. Now, it was at this point in the gameplay where I had my first doubts about the game, and it hadn't even been 15 minutes yet. You see, I've played and beat a lot of games, particularly first and third person shooters, which I'm sure many of you watching have as well. So I'm sure that a lot of y'all can relate when I say most games these days, you only have to look at the tutorial like once or maybe not even at all because the control schemes and the gameplay is all too similar. And Redfall was no exception to that. Which, at the surface, isn't a complete bad thing. I'm not saying that I want the game to have like these weird control schemes or something, but the game just felt all too familiar from the get-go for me to feel that I paid for a AAA title. Playing the game gave me heavy vibes from games that I've already played before, like Borderlands and Fallout, from just the gunplay alone. And while I love those games, it made me question whether I like this game for being original or from doing something I already am familiar with. Now, a little later in the game, you finally get a safe house where you can officially start missions and house the NPC characters that you save, like Anna Creelman and Terrence Hunt, whose head is ridiculously too long. And these characters give you things that you need as you continue doing missions where you exterminate vampires and take control of other establishments. And I mean, just explaining this to you, I bet many of you can think of games that you've played before that uses the exact same formula, which further makes me say that this game should not be valued at full price. Not to mention that the story isn't really that captivating, as it's just another world torn by an outbreak of some sort, in this case vampires, and some random heroes show up with little backstory to save the day. Which I would be fine with. I've played games with boring stories before and they had gameplay to make up for it. But in my opinion, I don't think that Redfall does the same. I also had some gameplay glitches on PC where the enemies will sometimes run towards me backwards on some Matrix shit, but it is a day 1 game, so glitches like this are expected. Now, playing the game, you have various types of enemies, various types of weapons, all gameplay that lives up to the footage that we've already seen before, but I just didn't have that much fun playing it. Now, in total, I've played Redfall a little under 2 hours and made it to level 3 at the opening theater sequence, so if the game is completely different and changes into a better game at some point after that, then I take full responsibility for being wrong in this video. But from what I've seen and played, the game is pretty much the same for the entire game and does not warrant the $75 that I spent. Now, if you have the Game Pass on PC or Xbox, then I completely recommend that you play. You know, it's a new game with a day one release on the service, so it's harmless to check it out. You might like it. Like I said, it's not a completely terrible game, just not one that I think anyone should pay full price for. So that is my full opinion on the game, which I'm slightly disappointed to say, but I kinda had a feeling that I'd feel this way seeing the initial gameplay months ago. I was just hoping that, you know, they would prove me wrong. So hopefully the game gets a price cut for players that aren't on the Game Pass, because in my opinion, that's the only thing holding this game back from being better. So what do you guys think about Redfall, man? Are you guys happy with the price point? You know, do you like the game, not like the game? Feel free to leave a comment down below. And as always, leave a like on the video, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.